Two different zombie games, both wild, both bloody, both trying way too hard to be your next favorite. Today we're diving deep into the brutal streets of Dead Island 2 and the parkour investor world of Dying Light 2. From combat and story to graphics, movement, and pure zombie slaying satisfaction, we're breaking it all down to see which game really earns the crown of modern zombie survival. Whether you're here for the gore or the grind, take this ride with me. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Got a lot more content on the way. Alright, let's get into it. Dead Island 2 and Dying Light 2 are action-based survival horror RPGs. They both are heavily melee-based and incorporate crafting and looting. They have a lot of similar components, just executed a little differently. The first component that we're going to compare is the setting and atmosphere. Dead Island 2 takes place in quarantine, zombie-infested Los Angeles, sarcastically named Hell A. The tone is fairly light, and the game never takes itself too serious. It mocks LA culture of influencers, plastic surgery, and Hollywood egos. It's sunny and chaotic without too much of a day-night cycle. Dying Light 2 feels pretty different. The game takes place in a fictional European city named Villador. The city has been devastated by a mutated virus, and the undead roam the streets. The city feels dark, tense, and post-apocalyptic with its abandoned buildings and crumbling infrastructure. Daytime is tense with the dead roaming the streets, but at night things get crazy, and you don't want to get caught out in the open. Both games have large weapon arsenals. Dead Island 2 has a wider variety of different weapons and weapon types. You have your classics like machetes, axes, swords, hammers, and so on. But you also have improvised weapons like pool cues and steel pipes. You can also pick up random items like golf clubs and shovels and use them as a weapon. There's a large, decent amount of firearms that you can unlock as well as you progress throughout the game. There are less core weapon types in Dying Light 2, but there's still a nice variety. There are not a lot of firearms, but there are a couple different bows that you can collect and use. Dying Light 2 also has a deep weapons modification system. Most melee weapons have up to 3 modification slots. You can modify the tip, the shaft, or the grip of your weapons. There's a nice variety of different modding options, and you can combine them to cause different effects. Once installed, the mods are permanent. You can also upgrade and modify your weapons in Dead Island 2 as well. You mainly have elemental mods, but there's also another category of upgrades called perks. To upgrade your weapons in both games, you will need to collect different blueprints. In Dead Island 2, you'll upgrade your weapons at workbench stations that are found throughout the world. And in Dying Light 2, you'll upgrade your weapons using craftsmasters who are usually found in major hubs. Between the two games, I like the weapons better in Dead Island 2. You have a wider variety of melee weapons and way more guns. The boss fights in both games are fairly decent to above average. The bosses in Dying Light 2 tie into the story more and are a little more serious. I actually think the boss fights in Dead Island 2 are a little bit more fun though. They're more over the top and creatively designed. You also can use the environment more here, and elemental weaknesses matter. Now let's talk about exploration and go into more detail about the maps. In Dead Island 2, the map is semi-open world and gives you the ability to travel to and from different zones or areas of the city. There are 10 different playable zones that represent different areas or parts of LA. Some zones are larger than others, and each of it has its own unique vibe, which include different visuals, enemies, and loot. Each also has its own missions and side quests. Later on in the game, you can travel from zone to zone using their fast travel points. Unlike Riptide though, there's no vehicles that you can drive. You get around on foot, and movement is fast paced. You do a lot of walking, running, and dodging. Dying Light 2 is fairly different here. The map is large and open world, consisting of 2 main city regions, Old Villador and the Central Loop. The map is over twice the size of the first Dying Light game. The city feels more traditionally post-apocalyptic. There are a lot of area for you to explore. There are safe zones that you can unlock throughout the city. There are windmills that you can power and decide which faction controls. There are more people for you to interact with here than in Dead Island 2. There's also side quests all over the place that you can take part in. Exploration and movement is where Dying Light 2 really shines. Parkour and vertical transversal is a huge part of gameplay. You'll use wall runs, ledge grabs, vaults, swings, and slides. You'll even have rope grapples, a paraglider, and zip lines to help you get around. Originally, I wasn't really excited about the parkour element, but it was done better and a lot more fun than I expected. You can explore the city vertically just as much as you can on foot. Now, the last element that we're going to compare is the stories. Let's start with Dead Island 2. I describe the story here as chaotic and satirical. It's not supposed to be an emotional and serious narrative drama. After a plane crash, your player, who is one of 6 selectable options called Slayers, is bitten by a zombie, but he doesn't turn. You find out here that you're immune. Now you set out to find other survivors, reach safety, and help scientists find a cure. The story blends dark humor, satire, and a bunch of gore. There's some twists and turns throughout, but the story is fairly straight line, and your decisions doesn't really have an effect on the outcome. The ending is pretty cool and leaves the possibility for a follow-up game in the future. In Dying Light 2, you play as Aiden Caldwell, a pilgrim who travels between different settlements and is looking for his long-lost sister. The story mainly revolves around finding that sister, uncovering things about your past that you have forgotten, and deciding the fate of a collapsing city. You make important decisions, like which faction will control certain segments of the city and who do you align with. Your choices and decisions matter here and shape your playthrough. There are multiple different endings that you can end up in. Now, I prefer the story in Dying Light 2. I prefer a more fluid story to a really rigid one. In the end, I actually enjoyed both games way more than I thought I would. The arcade style of Dead Island 2 was more fun than I expected. I generally like more dark and serious games, but I also enjoyed the parkour elements of Dying Light 2 way more than I thought I would. If you have the opportunity, I would recommend playing both games. They are both currently available on PlayStation Plus, but if I had to recommend just one, I'd choose Dying Light 2. Let me know what you think about each game in the comments, and which one do you think is better. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know what game you'd like for me to cover next. Until next time, we're out. Peace.